Okay, I'm here with Piers Thompson, and he's a guy that's been involved in this area with a lot of the up-and-coming acts from the 70s who are now legends now. What could you tell us about Joe Strummer?
Joe Strummer, I mean, first time I met Joe Strummer was in my parents' house. Back in the day, we used to live in World's End in Chelsea, and we used to go down the Marquee, and somehow our place was where everyone ended up. And so when I was about 16, 17, at my parents' place in the basement, suddenly the place was full with The Clash and Ultravox and all these crazy people.
Must have been exciting for you as a young man.
Kind of exciting. I mean, we used to do this fanzine called Shoes, which was, because we were middle class, it was the second biggest selling fanzine after Sniffing Glue, because we knew which way was up. And I mean, it was an amazing time. I was 17 in punk, and there's literally never been anything like it. Never been anything like it. But back in the day, I mean, the Clash weren't real punks. I mean, the real punks were the Pistols, Eater, the Jam. The Clash was seen as very much sort of art school kind of vibe. Though, 30 years later, they're the ones who stood the test of time.
Considered gods
Yeah.
of punk.
And of course, Don Letts, you probably know Don Letts. Don Letts is a great figure around these parts, filmmaker. Back in those days, he used to be doing Super 8s at the Roxy in Covent Garden, which was the big punk gig. And Don, being from around this area, I suppose eventually he ended up hanging out with the Clash more and more, and so his films became more and more involved with the Clash. And he ended up doing Big All Day Dynamite with Mick and so on later on. Hold on. So I'm really pissed.
Did you not run a magazine in the 70s around that was set in Roughler's? That's the one that comes to mind all of a sudden. Did you not run Roughler's? Did you involve the Clash or Joe Strummer in your magazine?
I was going to just say, what's Roughler TV?
What's Roughler TV?
Well, back in the day, in the 80s, the Warwick Castle on the Portobello Road was the only pub really in the area. I mean, everyone went there, from like lords to market traders, pop stars, yuppies like me, total scumbag street life. Everyone went to the same place. And Ray Jones, Welsh Ray, started his magazine, which was originally the Rough Trade Cricket Team's magazine, but turned into this like cultural pub scene. And Joe Strummer wrote for it, Will Self wrote for it, Adrian, everyone was there in the same place. I mean, we've had an exhibition in the Tabernacle off by one of his best mates on an acid deal. Though, actually, if we're talking about Joe Strummer, it was Joe Strummer who lent my hopeless colleague Ray the £500 he needed to buy his council flat from the council. Joe was always an amazing man. Anyway, so, 20 years later, we've reinvented Roughler magazine as Roughler TV. And what we're trying to do is we're trying not to be grumpy old guys. What we're trying to do is just like summon up some of the spirit of the past and communicate that, because, Ray is 53, I'm nearly 50. We know we're not going to take it on, but you guys, the younger generation, in a way, don't have the advantages of like slacking and nihilism and not knowing not having a career that we used to have. And it's a very, very, it's very creative. And to my mind, the greatest thing that's happened to the area for years is the credit crunch, because it has just stopped the money in its tracks. We just got to get back to what we really believe. Joe Strummer, with the Clash and after Clash, wrote a lot of tunes which were emotionally true. Who else is doing emotionally true stuff now?
Not many people now, but as you say, it comes from time in history, like in the 70s, when people were more activists and.
Do you know what always the deciding factor? Excuse me, is economic. I mean, basically, back in those days, we had a lot of cheap space, so people could afford to be in the neighbourhood who like did a bit of modelling for Buffalo, did a bit of this, bit, you know, they didn't have to be making money every day. And on that note, I'd like to, today a great old friend of ours, James the Bond, died. James the Bond, he was the original James Cutts, the original hairdresser. He was there at the beginning of Stussy, he was there at the beginning of the Language Lab, the first hip-hop club around here. James, his brother was Mark Le Bon, the true genius. I mean, James was an icon of West London. And he died today of a heart attack. James, rest in peace.